anybody else just exhausted? Like, just completely 100% drained. I don't mean like you can go take a nap and feel better. I'm talking like extreme fatigue.
Then it's like, I'm not about to be cutting back on nothing. I'm to the point where, listen, if you don't have enough money to pay your bills, and I need to get and you need to get your hair done, go get your hair done. It ain't gonna matter, because you still not gonna have the money. So just at this point, just go on the credit card debt to go on vacations. That's what people have to do nowadays, because it's just too much.
What do you mean stop complaining? You mean pointing out the numbers in our broken system? That back in 1980, adjusted for inflation, employee-sponsored healthcare was only $9,200, $2,500 in their money, but adjusted for inflation, $9,200, and now today in 2026, it's $27,000? It increased by 191%. College, in-state, tuition and fees for 1 year, adjusted for inflation, $2,400 back in 1980. Today, nearly $12,000 for a 400% increase. Housing, the average house was $50,000, adjusted for inflation, $202,000. It went up 100%. And our wages, do you want to guess what our wages did in the same 46 years? 30%. I don't know any other statistic. How much worse would this have to be for you to stop calling us complainers? Do you not see what a fucking ripoff this is, and what a failed system or failed leadership we have had over 46 years? To allow the three most important aspects of our life to go up this much and wages not. And this doesn't include fucking daycare. This doesn't include groceries. This doesn't include gas.
Lately, it feels like every time you go online, there's another conversation about Americans feeling broke, watching their money disappear faster, and realizing that things that used to feel normal are becoming harder to afford. In this video, we're looking through a collection of clips showing the frustration people have around rising prices, everyday expenses, and the feeling that no matter how hard they try to save, staying ahead keeps getting harder. The bigger story here is why so many Americans are starting to question whether this is just a personal money problem, or if the way people expected to live has completely changed.
What's up, America? CEOs of major companies in America are now saying that the average American is running out of money. Wow, gee, no fucking shit, dumb fuck. Yeah, Americans are running out of money. Man, did you figure that out all the way from back 5 years ago? So the CEO of Heinz is now saying that Americans are running out of money due to high cost of food, gasoline, insurance, cars, housing, every fucking thing. And the CEOs are now finally saying, maybe we need to bring prices down a little bit. Oh no! But not because the CEOs are generous all of a sudden. No, they're saying that Americans are no longer buying name brand products, or they're simply not buying products at all. And so to save their price gouging companies, they need to bring prices down a little bit.
Major recession indicator for me is being nickel and dimed everywhere that you go. Like things that used to be included as a part of a service or as a part of a meal, now all of a sudden it's extra. And it's like, wait a minute, I remember a time where this used to be included. I remember when getting your cuticles done whenever you got your nails done was a part of the service, not an additional service, not a premium service when you get this nail package or whatever. Like, people just used to do your cuticles. One, you go to a restaurant, oh, can I have some sauces? Can I have some cutlery? Yeah, sure, for an extra 50 cents. For a packet of hot sauce, for a fork, for a napkin. It's just passing the buck along, companies just passing their cost onto us. And it's like, y'all not slick. I remember that there was a time where all of this stuff was included, and if not, free.
I applied for apartments. $2,095 for basically a studio. My credit score is too young, even though I've been renting for 3 fucking years. So you have to have a cosigner. And my whole family's like, no, we're not gonna cosign for you. Work harder, do it yourself. $20.95 for a fucking studio. My parents moved in to the same area, $500 for the same fucking studio. Not per person, total. I'm so fucking sick of the older generations. Like, I actually just need them to fucking go away. Like, it's unbelievable how they're like, just work harder, work smarter. Bitch, I make fucking $34 an hour and I cannot be approved for an apartment. Like, you're a literal cunt. Fuck you.
One of the biggest reasons people are frustrated right now is because it's not always the huge purchases causing stress. It's the little things that used to never require much thought. A lot of people aren't talking about losing access to expensive vacations or luxury items. They're talking about normal everyday choices suddenly feeling like decisions they have to calculate. Getting food after work, grabbing lunch during a busy day, or stopping somewhere without checking the price first used to feel like a small convenience. Now a lot of people feel like every purchase comes with a second thought of whether it was actually worth it. That's why seeing fast food prices get close to restaurant prices has become such a common complaint online. People aren't shocked because they expect everything to be cheap forever. They're frustrated because the value they thought they were getting is disappearing. When someone spends more money than they expected on something simple, it creates this feeling that their paycheck is shrinking without them changing anything. Even people who are trying to be responsible are noticing that cutting back doesn't always feel like it solves the problem anymore. You could skip going out, pack your own meals, and avoid unnecessary spending, but eventually you start wondering what you're even saving for. That constant feeling of having to say no to small things is what makes people feel worn down. It's not about needing to buy everything they want, it's about feeling like there's less room to enjoy anything at all. For a lot of workers, even buying lunch during the day has turned into something they avoid because spending a few extra dollars every day adds up quickly. And when people start removing small comforts from their routine, it becomes a reminder of how much prices have changed. The frustrating part is that these changes are happening slowly, so people almost have to adjust their expectations every few months. Something that felt affordable last year can suddenly feel irresponsible this year. That's why so many people relate to this conversation, because they're not asking for a luxury lifestyle, they're talking about wanting everyday life to feel manageable again without constantly worrying about the next expense. And when those small sacrifices start stacking up, it creates a bigger picture about whether the problem is really individual spending habits or something much larger happening around them.
Today is Tuesday, May 19th, and I have a couple of really important recession indicators to share with you, and they're not the typical ones that you've been seeing across your TikTok over the last few months. These recession indicators are coming from my clients in the upper end of the K economy. So not my necessarily lower end of the upper K or my higher income earning upper middle class people, but my wealthiest tier clients. This is the first time that I've seen any recession indicators in this group of people, and they've all happened over the last 2 to 3 weeks. The first thing that I've seen, several clients sent me messages questioning their bill, not in like a way that like I did the billing wrong or mischarged them or whatever, like just more like asking questions about it. And what became very clear is that this was the first time they had ever looked at their bill. These are people that have been using me for a long time, all the time. And I had no idea that they had never looked at their billing before. So I'm walking them through kind of the basics of their billing as if they were seeing it for the first time, which I think they were. So suddenly this group is looking at what they're paying for things when they may have previously not paid attention. Also interesting that I have clients that didn't know what they were paying. Very interesting. So the next thing is we have a client, he would be in that upper end of the tier economy, people that own multiple homes. He sold a very well-known Minnesota brand for a lot of money and owns another well-known Minnesota brand. He, is used to taking people out to dinner, teams of people all the time for his whole career, because obviously he's owned big businesses. But he said he took a team of 11 people to a dinner downtown Minneapolis. And I want to mention the restaurant so that there's some context, but I don't want to call the restaurant out. Not that it didn't do anything wrong, but I don't want to call the restaurant out. So it's not like the most expensive restaurant we have in Minneapolis, but it is a nicer restaurant. So he was freaking out. Freaking out's the wrong word. He was having a lot to say about the fact that the bill was $5,000. He was shocked. He said he normally, when he takes a group of 10 or 11 people out, he's used to a tab, kind of in the $2,000 range, maybe $2,500, depending on if they order more expensive wine or something. He said the tab, $2,000 of the tab was wine and $3,000 was food. So $3,000 in food for 11 people. What is that, like $300 a person? And my math is, I'm very tired today. But what was noteworthy about it is he talked about it for quite a while, like just flabbergasted that the cost to take a team out to dinner has basically doubled, and kind of wondering how and when that happened. And this is the first time that a upper end of the K economy customer has noticed inflation and felt it and had something to say about it. So that's going to be something that I'm going to continue watching as we move forward. We know how everybody else in the economy is doing and how much pressure they're feeling with inflation. I don't need to beat a dead horse there. But I'm going to be watching my clients in the upper end of the K economy, and I will let you know what I continue to see going forward.
A lot of the frustration around money comes from the feeling that people are being given advice for a world that doesn't completely exist anymore. For years, many people grew up hearing that if you worked hard, saved money, and made smart choices, you would eventually build a comfortable life. And that idea still matters, but many young people feel like that path to reaching that point has become much harder to follow. When someone says just get a better job or just make more money, it sounds simple until you look at how quickly major expenses have changed. Getting a higher paycheck helps, but people are also noticing that rent, food, insurance, and everyday costs often seem to rise alongside it. That's why so many younger people get frustrated when the conversation only focuses on personal choices. They're not saying effort doesn't matter, they're saying effort alone does not always create the same results it used to. A person can be working full-time, trying to save, and still feel like they're barely moving forward. This is where the disagreement between generations usually comes from. Older generations often compare the struggles they face with what younger people deal with today, while younger people point out that the prices of major necessities have changed dramatically. The reality is that both sides understand what it's like to struggle, but they're looking at completely different economic situations. A lot of younger people aren't rejecting hard work, they're questioning why working hard feels like it gets less security than they expected. That's why the phrase just work harder can suddenly feel frustrating for someone who's already exhausted from doing exactly that. It can make people feel like their problems are being treated as personal failures instead of something influenced by bigger changes. At the same time, improving your skills, earning more, and making smart decisions are still important parts of building a good future. The difference is that many people want the conversation to include the challenges that make the process more difficult now. Because when the cost of simply living keeps increasing, telling people to only try harder doesn't fully explain why they're stuck. And that feeling of being stuck is what caused so many people to start questioning what the future is actually going to look like.
Just get a job that pays more. Okay, where? Because people say this like higher paying jobs are just sitting there waiting for you to apply, but a lot of those roles want experience that people don't have yet, or they take a long time to move into, and even when they do exist, you're not the only one applying. Like, you're competing with hundreds of people who are trying to do the same exact thing as you, so it's not like people aren't trying to find better jobs, it's that the just get a higher paying job assumes those jobs are actually available, when for a lot of people, those jobs just aren't there.
And eating in and eating out is the same price right now. It don't even matter which one you do.
The reason this conversation has become so big is because it's not only one purchase being too expensive or one person having money problems. It's about a feeling that a lot of people have when they look around and realize almost everyone seems more stressed about money than they used to be. Even people who are doing relatively fine are paying attention because they can see the warning signs around them. When people with more financial security start noticing changes in spending habits, businesses slowing down, or customers becoming more careful, it makes others wonder what might happen next. That's why conversations about recessions and economic warning signs get so much attention online. People are trying to understand if what they're experiencing is just their own situation or if millions of others are experiencing the same pressure. And right now, a lot of people seem to relate to the idea of being constantly drained. Not because they aren't working, but because it feels like there's always another expense waiting. A bill goes up, groceries cost more, something needs to be replaced, and suddenly the money people thought they had saved disappears. That constant pressure can make even normal life decisions feel stressful. People start thinking twice before spending, not because they don't enjoy life, but because they don't know what unexpected costs could come next. That's also why the idea of being nickel and dimed has become so common. It's the feeling that everywhere you go, small increases keep adding up until they create a much bigger problem. Over time, these little changes can make people feel like they're losing control over their own finances. And when enough people experience that at the same time, it creates a much bigger conversation about where the economy is heading. The reason so many Americans connect with this topic is because they aren't only worried about today's prices, they're thinking about whether they'll be able to afford a home, support a family, or build the kind of future they were told was possible. For a lot of people, the biggest frustration isn't simply that things cost more, it's that the future feels less predictable than it used to. And that uncertainty is why this conversation keeps growing, because people aren't just looking for cheaper groceries or lower prices. They're looking for a sense that their effort will actually lead somewhere. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. Have a great day. Peace out.